Hi, I love Jurassic Park. If you're watching this video, you probably love Jurassic Park. We love it so much, we want what's best for it. The reimagining you're about to see isn't meant to be a total teardown, more a glimpse of what it could have been like to have been in the room with input on the script we did get. If you want to jump right into that, click here. Imagine, it's 2015, the hype of Jurassic World logos everywhere, building anticipation for our first trip back into the wondrous world of dinos in a long, long time. What could happen? Anything. We had a whole trilogy ahead of us. We didn't know that for sure, but I mean, come on, these people love money. Of every franchise resurrection, this one felt justified and momentous enough to be treated with respect at every stage of production. But was it? I think what we got wasn't bad as an actiony blockbuster popcorn flick. It had a lot of cool ideas as long as you rode the wave and tuned down your expectations of realism. I know, it's a fantasy movie about dinosaurs. What's realistic about that? Well, part of what makes the original work so well is its deep roots leaning on plausible scientific realism. Again, not bad, but what if Jurassic World was good? Like, really good? We start with a bunch of raptors hatching, which breaks the previous theme of an attack scene at the beginning of every movie. But there's an easy fix for that. We get a creation of Adam, hand of the creator reaching in, baby raptor claw extending towards it. Wham! Little bugger nips him. Pretty cheeky way to start, right? And whose hand is it? It's Owen's hand. This is the first pacing change I would make because although the movie launches right into several minutes of the children preparing to visit the island from here, Owen is obviously our protagonist. Let's say the movie starts with him on a helicopter ride to the island, recently plucked from an animal research lab and dubious about his destination or what's even being asked of him. It's a gentle nod to the original in that an expert is being flown in and establishes his credentials, putting him on a similar pedestal in the viewer's eyes. We zoom out from a clipboard thick with papers. He's finishing the last pages of the densest NDA known to man. He's kind of complaining about having to leave his non-human intelligence research, how he left the military so he wouldn't have to get jerked around like this anymore. Hoskins is like, you'd have to be dumber than your animals not to take this, trust me. Owen's expression says maybe we shouldn't. He hands it off to a lawyer figure in Hoskins across from him. Ready to tell me what this opportunity of a lifetime actually is? They both smirk. One last teensy paper to sign. The lawyer takes another clipboard from his briefcase. Owen scans it and his expression melts. He double takes, shares dismayed eye contact with Hoskins, and Hoskins shifts in his seat, triumphant and a little too gloaty. Then we get to see the paper. Jurassic World, visitor entrance form. The symbol we all know and love, huge at the top, fades into a real symbol over a gate. Owen in a car passing beneath it. Then we get to see the raptors hatching. We experience the familiar wonder again through Owen. Masrani and Wu were even there. Owen is surprised by how colorful they are, and Wu says their genetics were tweaked across the possible spectrum to aid him in his research. Surprise, I'm going to research raptor intelligence? From the ground up, should you accept. Owen reaches out, the magic is interrupted comically with a tense jerk by his finger being bit. This introduces what I would argue is another one of our most important protagonists, Blue the Raptor. Now, years later, we go to the kids. Plays out similarly. They're showing us the trip and building excitement of getting to go to this fully realized park, except with the older brother Zach, we get a moment right before he zips up his backpack, spotting bolt cutters and a bunch of rope. Those are weird things to have in there. In these introductions, our main characters are mainly unlikable. Older girl-crazy brother, negligent no-fun business lady. These guys are way more fun and intriguing. That's not necessarily a bad thing, and I think Claire would be even more compelling if we made her even more unabashedly awful. If Claire's going to be so shitty, she should be the Dennis Nedry, Donald Gennaro character. Sees dinos as assets, all about business, wants her Indominus project to be successful, and heads the project despite not fully considering its nurturing. She creates a tension between healthy animal psychology and disregard. We should be confused as to whether or not she's a villain, but through the movie we get to see her hubris torn down. Throw out the nonsense of park attendance being down, it doesn't look like it. Even real-world theme parks launch new attractions to boost attendance every few years, and this should be framed in a light of maximizing profits, all else be damned. Boosting growth rate, engineering spectacle. We get the scene of her showing off to the investors, establish that she's trying to juggle work with family at a bad time. We meet the real star of the show, and a little scene of how Packies short out their implants by butting heads. Foreshadowing. The visitor center is neat. She meets the kids, tries to brush them off until later since she has this unveiling for the investors, but this time Masrani is here and jovially insists the kids come along for the ride. Masrani palpably hits it off with the kids in a way Claire doesn't, and this shows his Hammond-esque passion for what he's doing. We get more time with the kids. They get to see their aunt's cold business manner firsthand. Masrani has the same head-in-the-clouds Hammond had. His shaky helicopter control alludes to his tenuous control in general.
Are you okay?
Oh, he's just being dramatic.
Indominus Rex's introduction is a lot of telling how scary it's supposed to be, rather than actually being scary to us as the audience. It has this? Whoa. And this? Whoa. I wish we could see it instead of some goddamn bushes. With the kids there, we can get some bigger reactions. But here's another major necessary twist. Indominus Rex is supposed to be, as I said, a purposely engineered spectacle. It can be white as a baseline, but its colors should morph through gorgeous hues. It could have eye-catching frills, maybe even feathers. It's scary, but also ostentatious. Wu's masterpiece. For all the money supposedly poured into it, this looks mostly sickly. We see it's knocked down most of the trees in its pen, whoa, it's strong, and hides in a nest of brush and broken bits. When they provide food, it doesn't emerge. Claire has them pulse its implant to get it to jump out, which is a nice way of saying shock it. It emerges, shifts colors, and roars around gloriously. Annoyed, it scratches around at what we consume as its implant site, just a bit. Hint, hint. Settles and munches the food in half lazily. While all the businessmen congratulate each other, the child notices what they don't. As pretty as it appears, it looks sad. Masrani and the other adults joke that it's anxious to go to its new enclosure and meet the world. The investors disperse to partake of champagne. Gray asks Claire why the Indominus only ate part of the animal laid out for it, and is kind of calling out in every direction. We reveal it had a sibling as in the movie, but this time Wu explains the sibling had been a genetic failure, was much smaller and sickly. It had to be removed for constant medical care. Indominus still tries to leave food for it sometimes and call out to it. Claire says that was years ago. It probably doesn't even remember that. Trying to be comforting, but coming off as callous. Realizing she's missed the mark and noticing Masrani is empathizing with Gray's childlike view, Claire pointedly reprimands Wu's failure more on the monetary side of things. Wu explains, with a slip of patience as he has had too many times, that gene expression isn't entirely controllable, especially when you've included so many building blocks. Gray just stares into the pen, not as excitable as he had been leading up to this. Now, Indominus social isolation is a thing we can be upset about. Masrani orders Owen to be called in to check it out like in the movie to see what can be done. Pats Gray back encouragingly, satisfied that he has an answer to every situation. Now the movie goes back to Owen and the full-grown raptors, who are now set up to be stoked to see. Plays out the same, they're all good gals. Hoskins wants his field test. Owen says it isn't safe enough. Stop! I am the safety man. You are being an unsafe. I'm going to have to issue you a Risky Ryan sticker. No, please, no. Oh, no. No. Emphasize that the military has their hand in this. Stupid kid falls in trying to grab a pig. But this time, the raptors are a little more confused and curious than purely malicious. See, one thing this movie gets wrong is that to us as the audience, the dinosaurs are characters, not just attractions. Though we are like guests of this theme park guided by the movie through its narrative, to us, this is more than a moment of eye candy at a zoo. Basically, what's going on with them dinosaurs is as integral to the story as them human actions. And although they name the dinosaurs, like Blue and Indominus Rex, they're treated more as plot tools than characters with personal stories. Rant 1 complete. So, they all have time to inspect this fallen kid in their own curious ways, poking the kid around roughly and nibbling at his clothes, one of them mean-mugging him, but not hard enough to cause any permanent injury, establishing a bit of personality to each color of raptor. Maybe one's more cautious and a little snarly, maybe one's over-nibbly and sniffy, that kind of thing. Owen still rushes in because, like tame tigers, they're still wild animals. He steps in and Blue is extra excited that Owen is among them, acting a little childish because maybe he hasn't been totally unseparated from them since they were kids and grew into razor-sharp killing machines. They back slowly toward the partially open gate. Things turn more serious when all the raptors notice their door to freedom is open. Like dogs and cats, even well-behaved will be mischievous at times to take an opening to the outside. They get increasingly agitated as Owen tries to keep their attention, giving hold commands, and then right when Blue has a twitch of pre-lunge, they dive through first and the raptors hit the gate. Again, to Hoskins, this is taken as a successful proof of concept. Back to the kids taking in park attractions, Gray spouting out dino facts left and right to Zach. I'm not entirely sure if the movie is saying this or if it's just a personal theory of mine, but I think the T-Rex in this movie is actually supposed to be the T-Rex from the original island. Since we're still in the same place and it would be a lot easier to catch the old one than it would be to breed a new one, we get to the T-Rex, and I wish we could see it. Here's another point where the movie confuses us for park guests. I'm okay with them giving us this insight into real-world, crowded zoo experience, but to leave it at this makes the parts of the movie about seeing dinosaurs really about seeing the movie about other people seeing the movie about dinosaurs, which maybe fits into a sad meta-narrative about parents who watched the original movie who are now taking their kids to see this inferior movie having to do with that movie. I'm also not entirely happy with it because T-Rex wants to hunt. So this would be a cool moment to showcase an evolution in the park's animal enrichment. We could see a pallet of meat with a red flare zipping around on a rail car that the T-Rex chases enthusiastically, putting on a great show for us. Yes, we should see that Zach and Gray are having trouble seeing it, but we should zoom past that. It then saunters off and settles down on a nice soft patch of earth for a nap. All of this behavior is important for later. The boys wander around some more attractions. We ditch the not impressed by dinos crap. If you want to represent more modern times and make the older boy showboaty, then he's distracted by getting selfies with dinos, more involved in recording his experience rather than being present for it. The movie's goal is to eventually get them into the old JP building, and you can easily do that, introducing a subplot of the older brother wanting to sneak away and break into it, hence the rope and bolt cutters. The abandoned main building is an internet legend, and he wants the cloud of filming an excursion through it. There's a lot of YouTube channels of daredevils breaking into abandoned bunkers and factories, so it makes sense as well as him having a map of the island on his phone as to where he should go. They run away from their handler, but not before Zach steals her access badge.
Scatter.
What?
Go. Run. Go, 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 go.
Claire goes to meet Owen. We see they were a thing, fun banter, yada yada. The conversation is interrupted by the call from Claire's sister asking how the kids are. Claire lies. Her sister is upset that she's not actually spending time with the kids. Claire ineffectually tries to hide the emotional nature of the conversation. And by the time they hang up, she's a little teary. If you could grant me one change to the movie, smashing these two scenes together would be it. The prior air of aloof arguing swept aside, Owen touches her shoulder. He cares. She accepts the embrace for a moment, but pulls away, wiping her eyes hurriedly. After a moment, she jokes about being a robot and connecting with people is hard, especially when they're tiny, ceding a little to Owen's side of their earlier argument that she's a walking day planner. As they're getting into the car, Owen's like, hey, if you want a wingman with the kids, I can be a social buffer. She slightly mockingly, you're good with kids? Him, cocky, I did raise a pack of raptors. Aw, what a cute thing to look forward to that probably definitely won't be interrupted by tragedy and carnage. Jump to the kids seeing the Mosasaurus. We should move the riding and balls scene to here too. It's a good time for them to make their move and intentionally open a side gate with their stolen badge. His brother doesn't want to, but he convinces him how cool it is. You could even throw in some jadedness on his part for how commercialized this park is and how he prefers the old Jurassic Park. If you want more meta lines about how nostalgia will prevent us from enjoying this movie as much anyways, it's kind of a self-owning theme of jokes throughout the movie as an excuse for all the advertisements thrown into every inch of screen space. Or maybe the writers are protesting it themselves, but it's a theme that can go deeper than it does, and that making a sequel is tearing into the part of you that loves Jurassic Park, breaking into this world you hold sacred in your myth-riddled soul. And it's children, the target audience of this new money-seeking venture. They're the ones trampling holy ground, appealed to with their focus groups and tailored PG-level violence, accepted without character, logic, and plot point plausibility. I need a moment. Back to Indominus. Animal psychology is the telos of this movie, and it seemed like we were kind of going for a, ooh, look how clever it is, escape. But things got way too convoluted with the whole, we can only track it from the main control room. Well, let's just assume it got out and walk right into its pen. Unbelievable BS. As before, it's not immediately visible. Claire says to pulse it. They talk some more about its lack of socialization. Claire's like, did you pulse it? It's pulsed. He pushes the button a couple more times. Nothing. Annoyed, maybe it scratched out the implant again? Owen pained. It self-harms? We put it in deeper each time, said as though they're really addressing the core of its problem. Owen wanders around looking through all the angles of windows as Claire gets on the phone to address the possibly ripped-out implant. Getting on a side balcony, seeing one of the blind corners towards us, the audience, Owen asks, "Is that always like that?" "Like what?" Claire and the other guy hoof over. Trees are stacked in the corner, dirt and rocks dug and mounded, giving it a plausible level of elevation. Slight panic ensues. Rush to the security cameras. Claire, still trying to be calm, reassuringly states the height of the wall. Last sighting onward, we see sped up footage of it scurrying about, jumping at the walls, pushing excavated boulders, anxiously, further, in and out of the nest, digging, pointedly dragging trees with its mouth, jumping and failing, its propped trees falling. Exasperated, just go to the last motion. Several key taps of even faster motions, one final blur over the top of the fence, a quick key tap back. Then we watch those final moments in real time. The structure holds as it hurtles up, leaps and gets its claws over. Its feet catch in some recessed windows. It heaves, and gone. Tense silence in the room. Who would know what to do at this point? There are multiple ways shit could hit the fan. Maybe in transit to a new paddock, but this is within the realm of a driven, intelligent creature with no understanding of, say, tricks and thermal tracking. We could have a scene of Indominus eating all the rich investors, toasting at a private vacation bungalow near its paddock, cursing the gods who brought it into this world to suffer. See ripples in champagne glasses, some people still laughing while others stare off screen in horror until all eyes are staring off screen. Are we safe here? Roar, wham! Or just keep it eating some park workers. I don't care. Now you can keep the scene of them rushing to the control tower, deciding to handle it without evacuating the park, which, even in the movie, is Claire's evilest moment. Masrani is leaderly, tells Asset Recovery not to rush anything. Precision is key. Hoskins talking to Barry about raising a wolf cub. K. Weirdly happy a tragedy is occurring. Show a bit more of the kids traveling to the old compound. Park's Asset Recovery goes out to get Indominus, but with more helicopters and not so much on the ground with cattle prods fighting it toe-to-toe. Yeah. Loud horns blare for guests to return to the visitor center. The kids hear it distantly and can't quite make out what it's saying. The older boy says maybe they're paging them, and decides they must hurry into what we as the audience know is imminent danger. A little dramatic irony here, a little zhuzh, a little zhazh. Owen is angry they aren't evacuating. Masrani points out that if worse came to worse, they have a chopper with a minigun. Claire reinforces that no one is in danger yet. Then a voiceover comms from Asset Recovery. HQ, we have a situation. Owen, we already have a situation. Comm lady, we read you. Chopper, we have visual on out-of-bound guests. A moment of tension. Distantly, the kids in their rollerball mobile appear on the command screen. A shot of the whole room taking in how much more complex the situation just got. On the screen, the helicopter's camera view gets closer until the figures inside are recognizable. Switch to the kids inside the ball, realizing the jig is up. We're in so much trouble. I can't believe they sent a helicopter after us. The older brother could even film this, still not taking it seriously. Back to Claire, grabbing a headset from the desk guy. Get them out of there. The location of Asset is unknown. She looks imploringly at Masrani. Those are my nephews. Masrani, resolute. Land the chopper. Make it fast. These are kids Masrani was palling around with mere hours ago. Now as the kids sit pouting, watching the chopper land, not realizing the gravity of their situation, they notice something strange happening in the jungle, but don't react. The helicopter lands, a man emerges, and they begin to unbuckle to get out of the sphere when that stampede of herbivores from the movie comes crashing into the clearing. They watch in horror at the approach. Without taking their eyes off of it, they slowly re-click their buckles, moments before they're bounced around like a pinball. A sniper guy from the chopper tries to valiantly get at them still. While the chopper tries to scramble, a Gallimimus knocks it askew. We see the camera rattle in the command room. The boys desperately try to drive toward the chopper, and the rescue guy, who darts a dinosaur blocking them, he beckons desperately. Hope isn't lost yet. Right on the tail of the herbivores, Indominus emerges, eviscerating the man. The boys pull back on the controls to slow down. We get some shouting over the comms. The other sniper on the helicopter readies his rifle, but a terrified Triceratops scrapes them. He's knocked off his feet and misfires. Gathers himself in his gun, but by the time he looks up again, it's into the face of a curious Indominus, who inserts itself into the askew chopper and nom nom nom. We get a command room with cut feed, screaming over the comms, ordering every chopper to get there ASAP. Claire sinks to her feet and has to be held steady by Owen and Desk Guy. Now that scene of Indominus biting the sphere around the boys, they escape in the same way, jumping off the waterfall. The Indominus slinks into the jungle at the sound of approaching helicopters. Back in the control room, they have a visual on the Indominus and are in pursuit, but when asked if they see the boys, negative. Owen and Claire go off on their own to save the boys in much the same way. Indominus calls above the trees for its sibling, just driving it home a little more, notices the helicopters and is chased through the jungle. A couple of missed shots, a close call of it jumping and trying to get a chopper, someone thinks they got a hit, celebrations by all. Then it vanishes from their thermal tracking. They circle the trees, the victory turns to doubt. They've lost it, and no one can safely land to look. Masrani's composure wanes. He goes to Wu in a fury, just as before. Masrani, what have you done? Wu, what has science done? Wu gives his speech about the requests given him, nothing in the park being natural, monster being a relative term. We get the scene of Owen and Claire finding the carnage of herbivores, connecting with the dying animal, looking over what's left of the boys' sphere, following the tracks off the waterfall and seeing they're still alive. Back in the control room, Hoskins shows up to pitch his idea of using the raptors, but this time as both a search and rescue for the boys and to find where the possibly tranquilized Indominus is holed up before its sedation wears off. This mission is more believable for them than assaulting the Indominus head-on as they did in the movie, and buys them a little time before they really have to declare a state of emergency and evacuation. Things are dire, but still controllable. Owen and Claire return to the raptor paddock. He has to go because no one is as in tune with the raptors as him. It's a better idea than them just wandering aimlessly into the jungle. And they all gear up to head out. Back to the boys, they stumble upon the old HQ like in the movie, but it makes more sense since they vaguely knew where they were going anyway, and it seems like a place of refuge. This is where we get to see the older brother come to terms with what really matters and feel remorse for putting his younger brother in danger. His cell phone is busted after the waterfall, so he can't even accomplish his reason for sneaking here anyway. You could have one more scene of his brother being attacked by compies, but not necessarily. Anyway, they seem safe for now. Motorcycles and raptors. Oh my. Same as in the movie, they rumble through the jungle at the Indominus' last sighting and get a scent. Back to the kids, they don't repair an old Jeep because unfortunately that's not how either gas or batteries work after sitting that long. You know that scene in Land Before Time where Sarah finds the maybe dead Sharptooth and screws around with it until it wakes up? The kids unpleasantly discover they aren't the only ones who've taken shelter here. They try to come up with a plan to take it out while it's sleeping, maybe make a Molotov cocktail with old alcohol, or use leftover shotguns. If you want that scene of them being crafty somehow, you have options, but it would fail, of course, and now they're chased through the ruins by a groggy Indominus, in much the same way Owen and Claire were in the movie. Right when things look dire, here comes the cavalry. The Indominus retreats, still a bit off kilter. The armored car Claire is in pulls over and grabs them. They're all happy to see each other. They still get to comment on how her boyfriend is a badass. Everyone but them gives chase, and the helicopters scramble. The kids' rescue is reported back to the command center, and Hoskins gloats to everyone over the success. Masrani has a bad feeling and isn't willing to celebrate early. Knowing the Indominus is mobile again, he goes out to join the fray with their trump card, the live ammunition minigun. A good commander should lead from the front and all that. This gives the feeling that every precaution above and beyond is being taken at this point. The Indominus gets caught up too by the raptors and makes that weird connection that confuses them. They don't just betray everyone though, as I feel that belittles their intelligence and takes us out of reality with how clear a shot they had the whole time in the movie. But in the chaos of the chase, with unfamiliar soldiers all around and some of the raptors getting knocked around by Indominus and their habitual gear breaking, yes, chaos ensues. And it's another good time to highlight the personality differences of each raptor, having their composures fail in unique ways to their established dispositions. Aw, look at the way that one disembowels. I like the skittish black one. I like the takes no shit from nobody green one. As in the movie, the ground forces tangle with the raptors. Hoskins starts to sweat in the control room. Claire shuts the window so the boys can't see. The helicopters keep chasing Indominus into, yes, the atrium. Masrani arrives just as all hell breaks loose in the skies. They put up a good fight, and Masrani goes down in a blaze of glory trying to kill the Indominus. His control of the helicopter coming into play, his control of everything failing. Retreat back to HQ, and evacuation is ordered. Panic, as in the movie. This beautifully awkward non-kiss happens. Hoskins begins stealing everything that isn't nailed down, which includes Wu. We get the same scene of him dying ironically to the raptors, maybe even trying to assert his alpha status to steal them as well. Owen calms the raptors down and gets them on task. Gray gets to say his need more teeth line. Claire goes and gets the Rex, but uses at least a little cart or something instead of outrunning it on high heels. Holding a little flare on a tiny car, it's exactly what we established the Rex is trained to chase. We get our big dino fight. Heartbreaking raptor deaths, chomped one by one as Owen tries in vain to get them to stop fighting. Seriously, their deaths as characters are sadder than any of the humans. The good guys win. Mosasaur is a boss. The final bellow of Indominus is a cry for its siblings' aid, the culmination of its tragedy. T-Rex is like, "I'm free!" swallows a big mouthful of Indominus and saunters off to go nap again, as we've seen is his habit. Blue is the last of Owen's girls. They have a moment, but this is no place for her. She runs off, and the ending goes on as we know it. We get some happy evacuation and reuniting scenes. The boys' bond is stronger than ever, which is good because their parents are still definitely getting a divorce. "You and your sister almost got our kids killed. Gray isn't even yours." We reverse roles so Claire comforts Owen more than the other way around. His loss was devastating, and her character arc comes to the forefront as she can now grasp the bond he shared with what she would have previously referred to as assets. This time the challenges our heroes overcame were far more realistic, and therefore more impactful. Their own arcs and depths hit harder with minor tweaks, better toy sales as you simply have to have every color of Raptor. Even the prospect of a sequel has more loose-ended intrigue. We never said that stunted genetic failure of an Indominus sibling actually died, did we?